Something I've constantly heard while growing up was, that's not the way it's meant to be played. It doesn't sound like music. I've been playing the piano and violin for the past 12 years. My interpretation of musical works always varies. For example, upon reaching a climax, I feel differently about how I wanted to play it each time. Adding a little rubato there, a little less rubato here, there wasn't a time where two performances were ever the same. A lot of people were confused about my inconsistent style of performing the piece. When they asked why I decided to bring this melody line a bit more this time around, compared to suppressing it in a complete different performance, just like 5 minutes later, I didn't really have an answer. It just felt right. Now there are times my fluctuations would be so drastic, people would view the music as being played wrong. Why couldn't I just perform the music musically correct? When I thought about that question, I began to realize and understand the view I had on music. For me, it felt so limiting to play the same piece over and over again the same way. I didn't understand why people wanted their music to sound the same as everyone else's, to match a certain standard. Hearing the same piece being performed multiple times turned music to me to a drum. Everyone seemed like they were trying to emulate the exact same characteristics and emotions. To me, it felt like music was being commercialized. Like the Lorax, everything felt factory manufactured. The lack of authenticity was making me bored of the music. People's performances all felt like something they weren't, each lacking something. I realized that the composer specifically designed the piece in a way to express his or herself. Through the specific dynamics, tempo changes, and overall color of the music, the composer shows his or her character. But for a lot of the music, it's re-performed by people other than the original composer. And in these performances, there are certain times where the music truly is different. There's one thing I believe that's crucial for a meaningful performance for both the audience and the performer. And that's when music is being performed authentically. As a performer, I wanted to have a say in my performance of the piece that I was performing. Now before I go any further, I'd like to take a moment to read this quote by Malcolm Arnold. Music is the social act of communication among people, a gesture of friendship, the strongest there is. I want to particularly focus on this part of the quote. Music is the social act of communication. It's the strongest there is. To be a form of communication, music must be a form of expression, showcasing one's soul. Upon the uniqueness of a human creativity, the art of music is something that's shared throughout people all over the world. Even if bounded by a language barrier, the language of music is something that's universal throughout. You're able to express certain things that are just indescribable with words. But if music was based upon expression, why do certain performances sound so repetitive? In today's society, we're losing something crucial, especially in classical music, the art of expression. And in the bigger picture, to humans, expression is what makes ourselves. After all, the things that people express aren't ever the same. It's what makes all of us so unique. The emotions that people feel are never really the same too. If you take the time to really think about it, emotions aren't ever really shared. Like experiences, nothing you experience is exactly felt the same way by someone else. Even if two people went through the same thing at the same time, their emotional reactions would be different. Think about a time a personal tragedy occurred in your life. Let's say there were others with you to share this experience too. In this scenario where both people are feeling similarly sad, the intensity of emotion would be different. This is only natural due to our own individuality. Things we hold meaningful and the accumulation of experiences that we all have are different, and it's what defines us as ourselves. Even going further, the emotions that you feel yourself aren't ever really replicated. Let's go back to that sorrowful event that happened in your life. You're sad about it for maybe weeks, months, and even years, but then you slowly start to get out of that state of sorrow and move on. When you look back at an experience, your own very emotions that you felt then won't be the same emotions you feel now. Now, if the emotions aren't truly and completely shared amongst people, and they can't really be truly replicated within yourself as well, why do we have to perform a piece the same way over and over again? As we said before, music is a form of expression, and it's best when performed authentically. So why are we trying to perform with emotions that aren't authentic to us? There shouldn't be a reason why, and we just shouldn't. For me, after many years, I've learned how to weave in my expressions and experiences uniquely into pieces that I'm performing, so I'm not repeating my performances. When I play, I imagine my musical pieces as reflections made by water. I imagine that there are times where the reflections are exactly the same as what's being reflected. But sometimes and oftentimes, there's often distortion. The memories recalled are like memories, are like reflections of water. You see something different depending on the moment, whether the water is still or if it isn't. But just because there's distortion, it doesn't mean that reflection no longer has meaning. Depending on where your mind is, when you reflect upon certain memories, you can invoke unique emotions each time. So when I perform, an image of a river always pops into my head. The twists, the turns, even the sudden boulders that split the water to flow downstream in a certain way is the way I view myself when I choose how to play a piece. This causes me to change the way I play the piece, even from a run-through that could have been just 5 minutes ago. Where I am in the river is the way I choose to play. The contents of the water, of the river, originally stay the same, but the shape, the phrasing, the intensity of flow, the emotion, would change depending on the reflection of the music that I make and where I view myself. I align with the music so I can showcase not only the original composer, but also my personality and my own thoughts. So as long as music is a culture source, and people's emotions are shown through music, and music is able to unlock emotions with people, in people, let's allow music to truly be able to express our own individuality. In classical music, where many people try to represent the composer's work exactly as it's written, within those lines, why not showcase both the composer and the performer? Reflect on the music that you want to play, or the music you listen to. Within the lines of music, you can completely interpret the music through the composer's purpose, through the reflections of the composer, or present yourself as the casing of the river, letting the music flow reflecting you and the original composer. Like Claude Debussy once said, works of art make rules. Rules do not make works of art.